Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Bishop Darrell Watkins, and let's queer up the USA view. Texas gay campground bans trans men from property and creates community outrage. Grizzly Pines, a private gay campground in Texas, is under fire for reaffirming a policy banning transgender men from its property. The Navasota-based clothing optional campground chose to post the policy on Trans Day of Visibility, stating it only allows cisgender men to preserve comfort and shared lived experience. The post was later deleted and comments on social media were disabled. The venue wrote, quote, "This campground was created as a haven specifically for men who historically lacked spaces where they could express themselves openly. We're not anti-trans, we're just focused on preserving this unique subcultural dynamic," end quote. The policy has drawn backlash, particularly from the bear community, known for embracing body positivity and inclusion. The Houston Bears canceled their sold-out bear camp, stating, quote, "The idea of having an event where we would be forced to tell some of our members, not you, is incompatible with our values," end quote. The event will now be hosted at Rainbow Ranch in Groesbeck. John Anderson, founder of Gay Camping Friends, also criticized the campground's decision. The incident has sparked a larger conversation about who defines community in queer spaces and whether exclusion can ever be justified. I am pretty passionate about gender issues. In fact, my Episcopal portfolio as a bishop with the Global Justice Institute, my portfolio is transgender awareness and communications. And so this is, we're talking about my people, we're talking about my constituency, and I get very worked up about it. Now, I realize this is a private club, and the point of having a private club is that you can do what you want to do within your space. And it's a queer club, though. It's a gay thing. And I get that sometimes men like to be together, sometimes women like to be together, sometimes queers like to be together, sometimes people over 60 like to be together. I get affinity groups. But I do push back against the idea that only cisgender men are men. Mm-hmm. If we are going to be the queer community, then that includes all the letters in the acronym. And I like the company of men. I like to date men. I'm married to a man. But I don't dissect who a man is. If you present as a man, you say you're a man to me. And so that, now I understand that once you disrobe, that might be unsettling to see people who look different. But you might think someone is disturbing because they have only one testicle, or because their penis is a micro penis, or super long, or uncut, or cut, or the person is 300 pounds, or the person is 4 foot tall, or where does the physicality of it stop? And so, if it's a nude male space, I think nude is nude, and I think male is male. And I get you're private and you do what you want to do, but I also think it's very insulting and very hurtful to trans men who really are men.
And I just want to throw it out there for the sake of what's good for the goose and it's good for the gander. If trans men are excluded because they do not have male genitalia, what about trans women? They have male genitalia. Should we allow trans women in all their breasted and, transform glory, get naked there, as long as you have male genitals?
See,
it's insane.
I don't think women would be comfortable, but.
Well, I think you both bring up very good points, and it's a cultural phenomenon, not just in LGBT. Historically, we have segregated ourselves, and we have all women schools, we have all male schools, we have all black schools. We have all queer spaces, and now within the queer community we're starting to segregate as well. We have lesbian bars, we have gay men bars, we have bear bars. So I think that this is a huge conversation. Both what defines gender, which is a huge topic for everybody right now, and a lot of people don't understand what defines gender, and then what defines basically racism and exclusion, and what defines kind of a safe space for like-minded people. So, I think that this is a conversation that everybody needs to have and come to the table with an open mind, going, okay, I think this way, but let me hear what I think is wrong. I don't agree with what this campground is doing, because gender is not something that you should exclude on. But the argument is, we have all male schools. we have all female schools. So what are they doing? Are they, accepting trans people? So I think it's a cultural conversation that we need to have in a much bigger, broader sense.
Well, I do want to remind our audience that historically black colleges and universities they don't discriminate against non-black students, and actually some HBCUs are now majority white in the South, oddly. As someone who's been to a lot of gay nudist campgrounds and a lot of gay nudist groups over the years, this is just a really unfortunate thing to watch, because it's actually a much more complicated story than I think we automatically pounce onto, because I've found trans men to be very hesitant about going into gay nudist spaces. Even when they're I've more than once had known trans guys that are at campgrounds with me, and they're very shy to take their clothes off. I'm like, well, why not? It's okay. We don't bite. And if that bites down there, then good for you, ma'am. Good job.
No, I'm super interested.
But I find it very odd that the campground did this for one main reason. There aren't many trans men trying to join gay nudist spaces. I think they're perfectly fine to be there, but they're not as comfortable there, at least so far. So I'm like, why are you going out of your way to do this?
On the day of visibility. That was intentionally insulting.
It is there's not that, I'm not trying to say that if there were a bunch of trans men, it would be different. We don't have a giant crowd of trans men joining the gay nudist community. And the group, though the Jew tended, it's a process to be comfortable with undressing. So I'm like, why are you even bothering? And at the same time, a lot of gay men are a little weird towards trans men. And I've found when talking to them that if you mention that, as I've a few times made out and had fun with a few trans men in my life, all those boys all of a sudden start talking about how okay they are with trans men. And I'm like, you're all just stupid boys. The moment that you know one other gay is okay with it, you're all okay with it. So guys, grow up.
Well, and you bring up a good point. You saying about predominantly what used to be African American colleges, and that they don't discriminate. So again, these are the conversations we need to have. The fact that you're bringing up, there aren't a lot of trans men who want to be at these spaces because they don't feel safe. So to come out with something like this further says you're not safe, and not only you're not safe, but you're not safe in the community that you're supposed to be part of. It is LGBTQ, and it's always before we started literally adding all the alphabets, it's always been LGBT. So the fact that they did this on the day of trans visibility is shady boots.
It is. It was intentionally hateful.
And it was intentional. And that says something more about the character of that campground and the character of those owners of that campground. And so if they're going to exclude trans men, who else are they going to exclude?
Fat
Exactly.
people, short people.
I'm saying, yeah.
Who else are they going to exclude? So, those are the things that we need to look at. Yes, it is tragic and it is sad that our own community is excluding somebody from our own community. But if they're excluding one type of person, who else are they going to exclude?
But there are other queer campgrounds. I don't want to speak for Wachombe in Florida, but I'm pretty sure Wachombe is a trans-friendly.
I believe so, yes.
camp.
There's a sex club in this town that has that same policy, though, that says only assigned male at birth men are welcome. I don't know how many sex clubs there are in town, 3 or 4, whatever, but one of them is specifically anti-trans. They put it on the website. And, I know it's complex or whatever, but also I know that what a lot of white gay men, how they have navigated homophobia is by relying on their white male privilege. And so they're still trying to make that. You're going to have to, if you have unearned privilege, you really need to start using it to protect people who don't have it. And that's our responsibility. If you have unearned privilege, it is your job to use it to protect people. Because some people don't have it. The reason we have HBCUs is because they weren't allowed to go anywhere else. They had to create their own colleges. No one started a white college because they couldn't go anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Well, and if you don't understand something, if you don't understand the difference between gender and sexuality and all these, educate yourself.
Ask questions.
Ask questions.
For the moment, there's still libraries. I don't know in a year.
There's libraries. There's this thing called the internet. It's more than just for porn.
Right.
Go out there and research. Yes, you're going to find misinformation on there, but I have to, at least in my heart of hearts, that most people are somewhat educated and can discern fake news from real news. And if you don't find what you're looking for, keep searching. And there are organizations out there, there are resources out there within our community that can also help you.
Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.